Welcome to Up the Town.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us wherever you're at in the world, and welcome to another episode of Up the Town. Today, we have a special guest with us. It's kicking off our summer series, the long dog days of summer, hot, joyous, warm weather. It's no longer garbage. Well, it depends, unless you're in Scotland, and then I feel sorry for you because you're screwed. Anyway, today we have a former Wrexham player and someone who's from Wrexham, Neil Roberts. How are you doing, man?
I'm very well. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me onto the show.
Yeah, man, I'm glad that we were able to connect and make this happen. It's really funny. Like you had said, we were talking before the show. You said it's a small world because I knew some people kind of, that had played football, maybe a little bit more your age, but it's an even smaller world now. I'm sitting in Florida, just outside of Sarasota, and you're over in the UK, and we're having a talk about a Welsh team called Wrexham. Who would have ever thought this 2 years ago, right? Like, it's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, absolutely. 2 years ago, and if you'd have probably said we'd be doing this, then I'd have probably thought you were a little bit crazy, But it's amazing. It's really like a Hollywood story, and long may it continue. I think this is, or at least I hope it is, and I believe it is the start of a very long and successful journey.
Yeah, I agree. So I like I told you before, I've listened to a lot of the kind of like podcasts and stuff you've done. I don't want to beat your playing career to death because I know everyone asks that. But for some of the American fans who may not, know you from or know a ton of Wrexham history, they're new to the club. You played for the club twice, as well as some other big clubs. Kind of walk us through just kind of like a brief synopsis of your playing career, and then kind of where it's taking you from there.
Okay, well, I mean, very, very briefly as I can. I'm born and raised in Wrexham. I'm one of three brothers. So both my brothers played football. I'm the middle one, and hours and hours spent in the back garden, the local park, playing fields, wherever we could play football, we did. My mum played football when she was younger, and my father did too, to a good level. And it's always been there. So I signed for Wrexham at the tender age of 9. I came all the way through the youth ranks, as it was then. I then signed as a scholar when I left school at 16. 2 years on a scholarship, which is where I obviously learned a lot of the full-time traits that I needed to go into a full-time professional role as a footballer. So at the end of that 2 years, I was very fortunate. I got offered my first professional contract, and very, very happily signed that. That was the start of my journey from a professional point of view, to play for my hometown. Again, completely different to what you see and hear today about the club. Always been a working class town. The football club has always sat at the sort of centre of it all. In many ways, everybody's life sort of revolved around the club. So if the football team did well, then you would see the town come alive. So I signed my professional contract at 18, and spent the next 3-4 years at the club playing in front of my family and friends. Enjoyed every minute, every second of it. I had a lot of really, really good professionals around me and took me under their wing at a young age and looked after me. And then in the year 2000, I then was approached by Wigan Athletic to sign for them, which was when I left. So that was quite a big thing for me. I spent sort of 4 years or 3.5 years in Wrexham's first team, and then was approached by Wigan, who themselves were on a positive journey trying to get through the football league, and yeah, that was the time for me to move on. So, as you said before, I had a couple more moves after that. I stayed at Wigan with a really successful time. They ended up in the Premier League the season that I left. So it was a journey that Wrexham, as we stand today and as we talk today, it's one that they are looking to emulate, if you like. Um, so having been through that, I know it's possible. Um, the support and the infrastructure is far greater today than it was back when I was playing. And yeah, there's some fantastic owners um, that are supporting the journey, if you like, along the way. So um, yeah, I did then leave Wigan. I had a couple of spells out on loan. I went to Hull City. I went to Bradford before I eventually signed to Doncaster Rovers. And spent 2 years there before I returned to the Racecourse in 2006. And spent the next couple of years there where wasn't as good as the first spell. Unfortunately, we were suffering a little bit from, let's say, being badly sort of managed from up above. You know,
Yeah.
I think I think probably as players as well, you have to hold your hands up as well and say that ultimately, as a collective, we weren't good enough, or individually we weren't good enough during those 2 years, which meant the first year we just about survived, and then the second year, unfortunately, we dropped out of the football league, which is obviously why it's been such a massive emphasis on getting out this this year. We were came close last year, but this season, thankfully, the players and the staff have managed to put some goals to bed for me because on my return, I was captain, being local, having my family and friends there, and really just not achieving what we set out to do in that second spell for myself. It's that, it was all kind of good intentions, but we were going in the right direction on my return, and we were going to strengthen the squad. We were going to, you know, at the same time keep bringing kids through, young players through the academy, and unfortunately, none of it sort of came to roost, and we paid the price for it. So, yeah, not my favourite time in my football career, but again, you have to go through the bad times to get to the good times, right? And thankfully, we are where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it ended obviously the way you would have wanted, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I think when you look at hindsight, you got to start, with your hometown club and even end your career. Obviously, it's not the way you wanted it to end. I played, not at nearly as high of a level that you have, but I understand the disappointment. But it's also something you got to live a dream that a lot of kids would dream about, to grow up and play for their hometown club and end for their hometown club. And that's something that I think is really awesome, and just goes to show that with hard work and dedication and that putting your mind to it, you can achieve anything.
Yeah, again, I'm a massive advocate of the academy system in the UK, and as best we can, trying to allow youngsters a pathway and give them that sort of opportunity to develop and play for their hometown club. Um, and, later on after my football playing career, I was fortunate to work at Manchester City for just shy of 9 years, and part of my role there was youth development. So I've seen a lot of fantastic talent come through.
I won't hold that against you, by the way.
Well, no, I don't support them. So, Wrexham's my team support-wise, but I have to say, just when we talk about having opportunities to come through, that as a young player, um, I was very, very fortunate that I was able to kind of, like you said before, reach sort of my goal, which was to play for my hometown club. And, all my friends wanted to do the same. I think I was very fortunate that I had a great group of friends and family around me that supported that journey, and they came on it with me. So that was amazing to have, that's important to mention and to remember. Um, And again, my younger brother, he played for Wrexham as well, and went on to have a very good career. It was great. Was a much better footballer than I was, and unfortunately suffered with a couple of injuries that saw his career cut short. But we played in the same team together for Wrexham FC, and what more could you want than doing that with your younger brother? So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, we can go down a whole rabbit hole about the academy system and the American setup, but I'm going to refrain from that, or else I'm just going to go down a rabbit hole, and people are going to be like, I thought this was, I thought this was to talk about Wrexham. So, obviously you're from there now. Like, we've talked about your playing career. Now I want to kind of shift the focus and talk about what this journey's been like, and it's kind of awesome. Again, it's not awesome with how it ended, but when you think about what that led to, and look, what happens if that never did? The trajectory of the club now, you look at that, and it's like, it is that, like you said, it's like that silver lining at the end of the tunnel that you don't see. And I think it's such a testament too to, everyone doesn't always see the plan. Like, there's always these cool, like, little analogies I think you can go into, whether it's personal, business, or anything, just because it looks one way and it seems like this is terrible. But from the Wrexham lad, the person who is, who grew up there, talk to me a little bit about what the last 2 years has been like for you, not just as a former player, but as a fan of the club.
Yeah, I think so. Again, if you go back to the beginning of the story as it is now, I think everybody in Wrexham became aware very quickly that there was the potential of Robin Ryan becoming involved with the club, whether that be like myself or friends or WhatsApp groups, so the messages started to circulate this interest. There was numerous rumours about what it looked like or what it potentially looked like, and it was probably, in fairness, it was probably a feeling of uncertainty to begin with, because again, there's been some fantastic owners that have come over and taken on football clubs. I think the not the risk, but the probably nervousness from Wrexham fans was very much about, we've been through the mill, we've been through a lot with previous owners, and we were given a lot of promises which weren't seen through, and we were just, I suppose, the word skeptical, because again, you're looking to protect yourself for every opportunity when potential owners or new owners come in, and it all sounded a little bit maybe too good to be true. But in fairness,
and the celebrity aspect probably was a thing, right? Like, is this just a play toy? What is this actually like, right? Like, I'm sure there was that trepidation a little bit. It was cool, but like, how serious are you guys actually going to be?
Yeah, and I think that the biggest concern with that is it's obviously the distance, right? So again, you can have owners from any area of the world if you like, and
right.
It's how much are they going to understand the culture of Wales, if you like? Are they going to actually buy into what Wrexham is all about from a working class town, and the ups and downs that we've been through? How genuinely are they going to become owners? And they've absolutely knocked it out of the park in terms of the way that they've gone about their business. I think from the very first point of interaction with the club, you look back and you see Robin Ryan on their Zoom call finding out that they've got the casting vote, so 98%, something like that, which was, I think, rightly so. And you just see it in their sort of, I don't know, in their manner, in the way that they sort of express themselves. But the more and more we go on this journey with them, I think the more and more they sort of connected with the bigger picture, which is not just the football club, as I said, it's the town, it's the people. And in many ways, it's Wales as a country as well. We don't we don't just believe that it's about Wrexham as a town. It's about the whole Wales community and beyond that into Wales as well. So, you know, they came in, and right from day one, I think probably the part you mentioned about the celebrity concern, I think that kind of went out the window, because what they did is they allowed themselves to be spoken to. They put themselves out there, whether it be Q&A sessions, whether it be signing autographs, having photos, actually taking the time to find out and to learn about us as a you know as a nation. You know, it comes down to people at the end of the day, and I think what we inherited, what we've kind of been very, very fortunate to come across is two fantastic individuals as people, very, very astute businessmen, but most of all, genuine, humble, intelligent men that kind of, you know, taken us on a journey which is absolutely out of this world. And, you know, where does it end? It doesn't really need to. It's just a magical story that, again, having the camera guys and the documentary along for the ride has just made it even more magical, because it captures forever.
Yeah, it's you talk about, you know, it being about Wrexham and the people and the town and, you know, Wales. And I had never been, I'd been to the UK 20 plus times. I had never been to Wales.
Yeah.
And I have to say, every time I go to Wrexham, it's almost like feeling like you're going home in a way, because there's so many people who want to know who you are. They want to engage with where you're from, what got you into the club, right? There is that sense of entitlement a little bit in some of the bigger clubs, right? Like, they're established. We talked a little bit about that, right? There is some of that. And Wrexham has been such an incredibly welcoming place for not just, you know, the owners, but everything that's been brought. The popularity, the fans. I mean, every time I go to the turf, I meet people from all over the world. It's half. I've been in there before, and it's half the bar or half the pub is Americans and Canadians. Yeah. And I think that speaks to you all, and I think it's another reason why Wrexham's got such a connection in the US, because that's kind of, and it's interesting. There's a lot of Southern people, which Southern hospitality is a thing, right? Like that friendliness of where you from, how you doing, come on down and have dinner at the house kind of a thing. I think there's a lot of and it's interesting to see a lot of the Southern culture of, there's a ton of fans in Alabama. There's a ton of fans from the South that I've met when I've gone over there. And I think it's really interesting how that cultural mesh and how it's kind of like brought, you know, I'm not knocking anywhere else. There's a lot of friendly places all across the United States, but it's just really interesting to see that dynamic. When you talked a little bit of, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and maybe, you know, on that, maybe it was, and I'm a big believer in fate. I'm a big believer in opportunities, sliding doors, moments in time. And I think the back of COVID and, you know, well, it was kind of during COVID and whatnot, I think there was this feeling of, you know, just having a connection with something that you can really, really sort of fall in love with and believe in. And it's real, and it's, you know, during COVID, you know, it's tough times for everybody, and you know, not just in the UK, but like you say, you know, across in the States as well. And I think it just hit that right sort of note, if you like, where just you wanted a bit of goodness. And I think what you get from the documentary and this whole story as a collective is, it's genuine, it's sincere, and you can touch it. It's there for you, you know. And that's the one thing that, again, with the Premier League and the teams that are up there, they've done phenomenally well. But like you say, they're multi-billion dollar organizations that you can't really get close to. It's sort of
correct.
And as much as they put out their documentaries, it's not the same. It's not the same. And
You're not going to run into a Humphrey walking outside the ground at a Man City or an Arsenal.
I'm amazed that Humphrey hasn't been poached by a Man City or an Arsenal yet, because he's done phenomenally well, and the guy is just like such a good fit for Wrexham, because what he does, he allows himself again to be connected with. You know, I've been with him on numerous occasions, and you know, he's can have a photo, can kind of a chat. And I was with him once, we were having a quiet time, and it turned into a, is it possible that my daughter can speak to you about she's doing A-levels in whatever it was in semester? And he was open, and he was like, yeah, here's my email, let's connect. And it was like, it's so refreshing, because again, it's that sort of magic dust that they brought to Wrexham, which, you know, for me as a Wrexham born and bred ex-player, whatever you want to call me, I just find it absolutely breathtaking that every day I wake up and there's a potential new story. And it might be something about community. It might be something about charity. It might be something about new players. It might be something about the next series of the documentary and where it's going to go and countries, etc. And
I can't wait for that.
It's unbelievable, because I think, and again, we said at the start, a friend of mine said, we're just boarding the plane and it's ready to take off. And I think that's probably a great analogy of where we are. You know, it's been a long time coming, and again, it's just every day is exciting to be a Wrexham fan, or even connected in any way, shape, or form to the club.
Yeah, I think, I've made this this analogy a couple times, but I think it's going to be really cool from the perspective of the people in Wrexham, is when they see the Wrexham effect of what happens when they play over here. And I think that's where it's going to start to really, like, look, you see Americans and Canadians and Australians come over, and it's in doses, right? Like, it's cool. Like, I can't believe people are doing that. But when you see it in the tens of thousands and they're playing Chelsea, and that stadium's 50-60% red, and I think that's where it's going to really hit of like that oh shit moment of, we're a big club now. Like, we might be in League Two, but we're a big club. I think I saw something, I don't remember where it was. I wish I would have marked it down, that Wrexham's already one of the top 10 most followed clubs in the US, which is insane. And we haven't even hit season 2 yet. And I think that's going to be awesome, just to see that. Walk me through what it was like. So I was there when Wrexham won the title, when they played when they played Bournemouth. I was there. Walk me through what that day was like for you, and ultimately when that final whistle blew, like, how you felt.
Yeah, it wasn't like any other day. So anybody that says that, I'd say they're lying. I had my children with me in the morning, so that's always a nice distraction. So I've got 3 children. My youngest Sam is 13. I've got Macy, who's 16, and then my oldest daughter Mia, who's 19, who plays for the women's team. So again, the plan for the day was fill my morning with, because the kickoff was later on in the day, would fill the day with things that would just take my mind off it, or try to take my mind off the game, and that was so difficult.
That day felt like it lasted forever, by the way, before kickoff. It felt like it lasted 3 days.
Well, that's exactly that. And I think we probably picked the wrong morning to decide to go into town and do some sort of shopping, because Wrexham was just buzzing, and then obviously I would see people and stop and chat. Everything was obviously football. What's going to happen? What do you think? What do you think? And the day was, like you say, it was the longest ever. Tried to eat, couldn't eat. Ended up, a friend of mine got a couple of bars in town. So sort of early afternoon, we decided we wouldn't go out too early, myself and the eldest daughter. So we were going to the game, and we went to meet up with friends. So we met in rocking chair in the centre of in town. So literally, we thought we'll go there pre-match around 2ish. Literally, you couldn't move in there. So that place is 650, 700 people. 2 o'clock.
Crazy.
Not until 6:30. So it was then that it really started to kick in terms of the experience of the day, because you're seeing everybody that you want to see. Everybody's in a good mood. The drinks are flowing. I was doing a Q&A that night in one of the lounges, one of the directors' lounges at the club. So I decided to take it easy in the afternoon so that I was complimented for the Q&A later on. But it was just I think again, just a sense of relief that we were at that moment in time, and it was in our hands. You win, you're champions, and there's a confidence as well. So it wasn't. I don't think there was a real nervousness. I think the nerves had kind of come out in one of the games prior, where we played the Oval at home on a Tuesday night, and we knew that was a crunch game. So the first half, where we didn't really perform anywhere near what we could, came out second half, and we were a different team. I think that was the night where the nerves really showed, at least in that first half. And we probably got out of the system, and then obviously, lo and behold, the way that game against Boreham Wood started, you think, oh, this is not going to script.
You're like, oh shit, especially when they scored the first goal, and then in the back of your mind, you're going, this is like the team with the best defensive record in the league right now. Like, are they just going to park the bus and make this miserable? Yeah,
absolutely. And I, so we have season tickets, and we're in the Mole Road, so not far from where we sit, just along. There's a group of 12 friends of us so we've all got season tickets. But on this occasion, I was doing one of the lounges, so we were in the director's box. So very lucky to be getting two tickets.
Worst places to be.
Worst places to be. However, as a fan who likes the animated, it will stand up. It will stand up. I had a couple of beers as well during the evening, the build up to the game. Probably wasn't the best place for me, to be honest with you, but I did get told to sit down a couple of times. But again, it's one of those that kicked off, and I think it was 40 seconds in or wherever it was. we go one down, and I'll be totally honest, I don't think I was thinking, well, we're not gonna win this. I think it was more of it might be a good thing to sort of motivate us, because again, I think it was just a little bit of, maybe the paper was lit underneath us to say, you know what, it's not going to be all one way. You need to be really active.
And I think it was a bullshit goal, right? Like, that helped, I think, too, that it wasn't like they got played through. It was kind of just a bullshit goal. And it was kind of like, I remember I saw Ben Foster just kind of look and just do this, and Tozer looks and kind of does this. And you could tell by that reaction, you're like, we're not really rattled, but we didn't expect it. Like, but it was kind of for the documentary, right? Like, it played out almost the way that, Wrexham never make it easy. And it did. It played out like a script.
Well, yeah. I mean, those guys wouldn't have wanted us to go one down. But you know what? What a story it makes to come back from that adversity, et cetera. And, we were, I felt, from sort of the 15th minute onwards, 10th minute onwards, we sort of dominated, and we were always going to score because of the type of players that the likes of Elliot Lee and Mullin are. They're always going to create opportunities, and I think the confidence just grew and grew. The crowd were unbelievable. I mean, to play in front of that, how couldn't you be sort of motivated? And I think I think the build up to the game, I think there's obviously a lot of talk and things, but the players, to a man, stood up, and each and every single one of them was superb, which
Hmm.
doesn't always happen. It doesn't, maybe if you have 7 or 8 on a good day that turn up. But on this occasion, I have to say that they were all superb and delighted as well for Party on the touchline because Phil is, he's not the most sort of, how can I put it, he doesn't take the spotlight. He's quite happy and content to do his job. Will then sort of let the others sort of be front of house and they take the plaudits. He's fine with that. And that is a real
Yeah.
sort of sign of for me, of somebody who's special. And I think we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not very animated, but that would have been a horrible analogy because he is very animated. It's so funny with all the memes, right? Like, because he drops more f bombs than I mean, he has an art form of dropping f bombs, and it's whenever Wrexham's been down at the half or not playing well, going into halftime, we're just like, well, Rob and Ryan are gonna have to invest in new paint because he's about to peel the paint off that locker room. It's just it's crazy. It's so we win the title. It's been like that. It was nice to watch the last match and not really give a shit. You almost were like low key. It was like, what happens if we lose 3-0 and they stay up? It's a cool story. Like, it was whatever. It was nice not to feel like my hair was gonna fall on fire. I jumped up, so in my loft, it's slanted ceilings, and the tip of my hat has put holes in my roof from me jumping up from goals. So it was nice to know I wasn't going to give myself another concussion. Talk me through what it was like then. It's all over. There's a parade. It's party time. What was that like? Was that as surreal, or was that just kind of like the icing on the cake?
Yeah, I think, well, if we go back to the sort of final whistle going and the pitch invasion, it was, for me personally, it was relief. It was really emotional because I was obviously at the game with my eldest daughter Mia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I carried the relegation with me for those 15 years, and it's given me some real tough times, and I think it was just a sense of really emotional, uh, like I say, relief, and probably more than anything, probably like a sense of gratitude, uh, not only to the players and Phil for what they've done in terms of getting us back to the promised land, but also to the owners and Humphrey and Sean and Blair and everybody else involved in the team that they've done it in such a way that has allowed us to dream again as Wrexham fans. Every sort of every sort of sign of a problem has been overcome in what I believe is the best way. They've managed to to, to bring alive a time that was struggling again, and that story and that kind of ability to do it in such an amazing way that Rob and Ryan have is sort of testament to them as people. And forget the celebrity bit for a minute. Um, they were one of our own, as we sing to our local players. They very much been
Mm-hmm.
taken into the town and city as it is now. I always call it a town, but they've very much been taken under our wings, and yeah, it's still surreal. The end of the game came, and we celebrated with friends. We went into town. It was unbelievable. Everywhere we went was just scenes of joy and relief. And then got home early hours in the morning. My daughter saw me off. She went back to the players' party at the racecourse, and then I did manage to get bumped into the players, so that was nice to have a bit of time with them um, in one of the pubs in town in the back bar. And, there was there were some good scenes.
Oh, I love that place.
I'm not sure if you saw my video of a local celebrity and bootlegger with his top off with Mendoza.
Yeah.
So celebrating, swinging the tops on the head. So it was just amazing. It was a carnival atmosphere, and that was sort of the point for me to say, you know what, I need to have a bit of a break after this now, because I was just exhausted. So I dread to think what the players were like with with the sort of season kind of nearly coming to a close for them. And then we went away to Torquay, and that was, probably a fitting result, because I don't think we really turned up on the day.
I was proud that the guys could run with all the drinking they were doing all week. I was just proud that some of them, I mean, I'm pretty sure you were smelling alcohol running up and down the pitch. I mean, the fact that some of them didn't just keel over and vomit they didn't really probably train much all week. I mean, you saw videos of them. They were in the pub drinking for like 4 days in a row. I was shocked that they even ran out on the pitch, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things, isn't it? You're able to get, there's fans with them. They're celebrating with the whole town. They weren't in a cornered off VIP area. They're amongst everybody, and that's the important thing. And I think just to kind of finish off what I was saying before about what Rob and Ryan have bought into, and what I hope continues, is the most important thing is to keep that humility, and again, the longer that sort of continues, I think the far stronger and the far greater connected we'll be as a football club, as a town, and as a country.
No, I agree. I agree. So there was one interesting moment from the parade. I think we just should talk about why I share this. And I don't know. It's this picture. Can you see it?
Not yet. It's loading. It seems to be loading. Oh, yeah. Now whoa.
I don't know what happened to your signal, but I don't know how it is that Rob's face shows perfectly clear. I think that this was rigged.
I don't know. He's on my daughter's phone there, so she was on the women's coach in the parade, and she got in touch with me. I've been trying to get hold of her all night to do a call with her, but she was obviously busy and the signals weren't very good. But the next thing, she got hold of me, and they're top row. So managed to get a couple of seconds chat with him. It was, it's just, for me, it was just a surreal moment, really, of having Rob McElhenney on a FaceTime call with me, So as you can see from my face, I was slightly taken aback to see Rob.
I mean, look, you have Avengers coming to Wrexham. I mean, you've got Anchorman coming to Wrexham. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. You never know who you're going to run into now. And yeah, I mean, I got to actually hang out with Paul Rudd for like 20 minutes.
Amazing.
After the match. You want to talk to? Yeah. I never thought I'd be hanging out with Ant-Man.
Well, yeah, that's the way we roll in Wrexham now, right? So it's I've just seen something on Twitter earlier about Natalie Portman with the women's team. So she wants to do a family with her team and Wrexham. So it's like we said before, it's a feel good moment in time that everybody seems to be jumping on it. And why not? I think it's, new fans, more the merrier for me. I think it's amazing. I think if we can get, if we can build and keep building relationships, across in the States, Canada, Australia, I don't believe it's gone out in China yet. So again, when that happens, I've got no doubt that there'll be a real interest in visiting Wrexham from that side of the world as well. So yeah, long may it continue, and I think we're all enjoying the ride. I don't think it's just those locals. I think it's a real collective opportunity.
Yeah, and look, the race course is going to look completely different in 2 years, and then I'm sure they're going to keep redeveloping it, and it's going to be real interesting to see how that goes. So before we wrap this up, I have 3 questions for you, kind of rapid fire. And I'm going to ask this of everybody over the summer. So the first question is, if you could watch a football match with anyone throughout history, who would it be?
Bill Shankly.
Okay. Favorite song that gets you really hype?
Super Paul Mullin. We've got Mullin.
I love it. And the last one, is do you think that Wrexham can make the Premier League, and in how long? And it's not a gun to your head, so if you're wrong, no one's going to come after you.
No, it's okay. Yes, I do believe they can reach the Premier League. I've been witnessed Wigan Athletic get to the Premier League from a similar place to ourselves.
Brentford.
I think Brentford, absolutely, yeah. They're another team. Bournemouth, another team. So in terms of how long, I think the biggest challenge will be once we get to the Championship, because again, that league is absolutely filled to the top with very, very good teams, and I think that will be the moment in time that we'll need a lot more investment.
I agree.
It will push towards, so to speak, of what next in terms of the ownership, and it might be a moment in time that Rob and Ryan as well look to bring in additional support on their journey perspective, and open it up perhaps to interested parties that they've got. If you do reach the Premier League, that again is the sort of the top of the tree, and to be able to stay at the top of the tree, yes, you get money from the television deals, you get money from the Premier League. It takes a hell of a lot of finance to be able to establish yourself and become a Premier League stayer, if you like. And yes, we can get there. It's very, very soon. I think it will be something like 6 to 8 years to be able to achieve that.
I actually agree with you. I said 7. That's where I landed, was 7 years. Because if you just look at Luton Town, right? Like, it's possible to get even to the Premier League without look, you need money, right? That you're going to need that. But I think Rob and Ryan can get into the Championship. And this is kind of the educational piece for a lot of the Americans that don't understand like the pyramid system and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's where you're right. It does, because you have massive clubs, right? I mean, think about just some of the teams that are in. I mean, Middlesbrough, that are going up, right?
United,
Bournemouth just won the title. Sheffield United, Burnley. That's not even counting Sunderland and some of these other clubs that have been sitting in League One for a long time, right? Look at like Sunderland. It's, you're not too big to fail. Sunderland playing what is it, like the 5th largest stadium in the UK, and they went boom boom to League One real fast.
Absolutely. Yeah, and fellow Welsh clubs, Swansea City and Cardiff City, who have got who have got massive fan bases, and have been there to land in the Premier League before, and Swansea City, doing extremely well when they reached it. So again, there's a lot of clubs there's a lot of clubs that are in there that will feel that they belong back in the Premier League, and rightly so. But it makes that league super more competitive, and you know what? It is a fantastic league as well, and I think we'll see that when the playoffs are all sort of happening over the next couple of weeks. So I think we're in for a little bit of a roller coaster with all the playoffs, and Division 2 as well. It'll be interesting to see who kind of gets out of that league as well. Top quarters we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
They won that last year. It looks like they're in the they are in the playoffs now. You know, against Stoke, Salford, and then Bradford City are in it as well. So, you know, there's 3 games there that I'd like to have next season. So, you know, it'd
be real fun.
Whatever happens, the nice thing for Wrexham is it's win-win, because whoever goes up out of League 2, there's only one that can go now. There's potentially 2, if not 3, fairly local derby games for us as well.
Yeah, and look, not to mention Notts and Chesterfield. How that, I mean, Notts County is how they came back. I mean that was crazy. They were basically dead to rights and came back and won the game at the death to get there.
Yeah,
you know, it just goes to show you, when you get into that position, how many points you have during the season doesn't necessarily matter, because it's tough sledding.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not using this video here because I'm half done.
Yeah, it got dark like real quick, but it's weird. Yeah, it's almost 9 o'clock in there. Neil, man, I really appreciate you joining. This has been really fun. Next time I come over, hopefully we can get a pint and meet. I basically live at the turf when I go over, so you know,
well, I was
don't ask Wayne about me. He might tell you bad things.
I was probably in there when you were there, so we're ships in the night.
Sure.
But next time we'll catch up, and there's a few things that it might be of interest to you that I'm maybe doing with the club as well. So we're looking.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're looking at maybe that I'll be setting something up whereby I'll be a point person for anybody visiting Wrexham, and the sort of
it's awesome.
And pulling together sort of itineraries so you get the best of the best rather than sort of missing out on anything, you know. So it's
you have to keep us posted on that.
Yeah, no, I will do. You know, if you need players to come on, then you just let me know and I'll
No, that's awesome, man. That's great. And I think it's awesome that the club's starting to recognize the need for that, right? Like that this is the access need is big to especially the international community, to be able to see that different interaction with them outside of just the documentary and interviews over there.
Yeah. And like I said, if you want to speak to my daughter, just let me know and I can set that up as well. No problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely set that up. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Tell everyone where they can follow you on your social media.
So Instagram and Twitter are both the same handle. It's Robbo Wrexham, so it's OBBOWXM.
Awesome. Neil, thank you so much. Up the town, everyone. Have a great one.
And that's a wrap for Up the Town. Thanks for joining us and being part of the worldwide Wrexham family.